Hello everyone and welcome back to the Jet Entrepreneurship Talks. It's a pleasure to have you here and thank you, Andrea. Today we have the chance to host Andrea Bonaceto. Andrea is founder and CEO at Eterna Capital, which is a blockchain investment fund. Today is gonna share inspiring suggestions with us. So hello Andrea and thank you for being here with us today.
Hi Alice, thanks a lot for the invitation. Perfect, so shall I start? Great. What I thought, I would do is to just very openly share my story, like how I started and where I am right now. And then of course, any questions in the end would more than happy, to keep it interactive. So originally I'm from Tuscany. So I was born in Pisa, but I was just born there. Basically, I lived for most of my life in a small city called Viareggio by the sea, like 20, 30 minutes from Pisa. So then I studied economics, mostly like theoretical economics at the University of Pisa and later at Sant'Anna School of Advanced Studies. Then I went, to work for a while in consulting like Deloitte and KPMG. To be honest, didn't really like the corporate not even 9 to 5, 9 to beyond 5 life. Then I moved to London. I did a master in finance at Imperial College London, where I actually met Nassim, that then, will end up being one of the person I start with Eterna Capital. After Imperial, I started a company completely unrelated to blockchain, like a startup. This was quite an interesting experience for me. But then parallelly, I also invested quite actively in the blockchain space. We were quite early. And, it became something that was too big to ignore. Nassim as well was also investing in the space. So, as friends, we're just talking, okay, this is quite cool. We started investing together. And at a certain point, it was like, okay, there are these other two guys at BlackRock, because he used to work at BlackRock at the time, that are also investing. Why don't we meet up and we can see, what to do? We met up and the idea there, was to say, okay, we are all doing quite well. Why don't we bring to the next level, actually start a fund? So then we start basically attracting external investors to basically the strategy that we anyway are doing for ourselves. So then we did that. We launched Eterna Capital in 2018. Our first fund went very well. Now we're in the process of launching a second fund. And via one of the investments of the first fund is a project called Algorand. So we have invested in this project that actually is also started by an Italian guy. His name is Silvio Micali. He's a professor at MIT of computing science. He's the only Italian that won the Turing Award, which is the equivalent of the Nobel Prize for Computing Science. So he's one of the founding father of modern cryptography. So we were the only European fund that actually invested into that project. And now we're also managing their accelerator in Europe called Algorand Europe Accelerator. So what I would also say is that if any of you has any interesting entrepreneurial idea around blockchain, feel free to reach out to me. The applications for the accelerator are currently open and we're giving 15,000 euros to each project selected. And we're working with amazing partners and mentors from the likes of IBM, Amazon, Generali, etc. So it's really interesting program. This is my story in a nutshell. Then, I thought I could just share some, insights, really my 2 cents on a few things. Given that, I was in your position also not so many years ago, studying at university. And, what I always felt, with the entire education system, it was I did fine, don't mistake me, I didn't have any problem, but I always felt that, it was very difficult for me, particularly at the beginning, to really try to understand, try to see what I really wanted to do. I was basically put into very structured programs where, you basically have to compete with your peers to be the best. So you don't only need to hope that you do well, you also need to hope that other people will do worse than you, because many times marks are even normalized. And in that context, you know, hyper competitive, I felt that, you know, sometimes you lose the big picture and you're pushed towards like some very standard path, you know, working in company XYZ, and you don't really understand what you really want to do yourself. And I think that it's very important to have a very broad understanding of what you really like. And because it could also be that, you know, you are in a certain path and then you arrive at, I don't know, 25 years old and you understand you don't like it, and you should have the courage to actually change it altogether. So like for me, really the approach has always been to try to find things that are coherent with who I am. And really what I've tried to do towards this entire process was to be myself as much as I could. So, you know, around like, it's not, I don't want to portray, and I actually don't like at all the stereotype of the entrepreneur, the successful entrepreneur that works like 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and doesn't do anything else. Because I think that whatever you do, even the thing you love the most, if they put you to do it 24 hours a day, you're gonna hate it. Like, I mean, at least I do. So for me, it's very important to have a very like well-rounded basically life. And the fact that you know, now we live in a very like hyper-capitalistic system where, you know, we optimize for basically creating profit, even though we do have technology that could actually allow to a more even, let's say, and fair redistribution of this wealth. So basically, I think that capitalism has created a lot of wealth. This is amazing, but it's very unevenly allocated, right? You have massive gaps, even in, you know, the developed world. I think, you know, blockchain and where we invest is something that basically gives the potential to society to be a bit more fair and create organizations that are not just about maximizing the wealth of a group of a small group of individuals, but are more like community owned and open. And I do see that at a certain point, we'll probably be in a situation where we take control of our data that now we are basically used to give to the likes of Google, Facebook, and many others. And yeah, we use their platforms for free, but they monetize the data. So we take control of the data, we monetize them as we want, and then through devices that are connected, you know, through the Internet of Things, and are also using blockchain, you can start making money pretty much by existing and performing some very basic actions. So for me, it was really about to say, I would like to give a small contribution towards that vision that I think is for a society that is more fair and equally distributed, where people are, you know, not necessarily identified with their work. That's also another big misconception that I actually don't like. Like right now, you are your work, okay? In particular in cities, I live in London, right? So London, New York, there is no space for like an authentic representation of yourself that goes beyond your work. Thing that, for instance, I find a lot when I go back home to my hometown in Italy, Viareggio. There are people, sometimes my close friends, don't even care what they do, you know? And you can have an honest conversation. Otherwise, you know, when you basically play a part of you being, you know, and trying to portray this successful you know, facade of whatever it is that you do, you don't really have honest relationships. And people do understand, you know, when you are acting out and you just want to show off something. So for me, really, it was always to say, I want to have a like small part into this paradigm shift that I see happening with technology. I think that the blockchain shift is something that is as big, if not bigger, than the internet. If you think about the internet, what happened with the internet, it democratized access to information, right? Now we can access information with no problem. Blockchain is democratizing like value movement on the internet. Now you can move value on the internet without any intermediary, and it's a big thing. It's not just Bitcoin. Oh, Bitcoin is a scam. Cryptocurrencies. Oh my God, what are the cryptocurrencies? This is just scratching the surface. It's something very fundamental. And actually, if you see for me, it was quite interesting. There is a video that I suggest you to check out from 1999 of the economist Milton Friedman from the Chicago, school, Nobel Prize, like very intelligent and bright man, that in 1999 is saying, yeah, internet is amazing. What internet is missing is a digital cash. So a way basically to move value of the internet, hand like a $10 note on the internet from A to B without A knowing B. This now is possible. The implications of this are massive. You have the likes of the World Economic Forum saying that by 2025, up to 10% of the global GDP will be on the blockchain. PayPal allowed, digital assets on their platform, meaning that, they opened up hundreds of millions of people to use, this as a means of payment. BlackRock CIO, that, BlackRock, of course, was quite cautious in the past about commenting on this stuff. Now is saying that digital assets are here to stay. So, for me, it's just about playing a small part into this. And what I've also realized in the past is that it's very important to be very humble, in the sense that there are many smart people, and it's better to be an average person on a big trend than a genius on the wrong problem, basically on the wrong trend. So I think even if you're very smart, but you are focusing on solving the wrong problem, you're not in the end going to have the impact you want to have. But with blockchain, I think if you are curious, you just need to be curious and need to be, willing to learn. Of course, if you want to do it, like it's not that everyone needs to, focus on blockchain, but if something that interests you, I think is a great opportunity that you have. And in the course of your lifetime, I don't think you have many like this, because, it's a turning point. It's like when the paradigm is changing, you're moving from A to B. Now we are not yet at point B, we are moving from A to B. So there are a lot of opportunities. And for me, it's interesting to be part of that. Then on top of this, just to give you, a 360 degrees representation of myself, one thing that I like a lot is also art. I draw myself, and I think with blockchain, there is a lot of things that you can do in the art world. So one trend that I looked at from an investment standpoint first, and then also I started producing some myself, is the so-called non-fungible tokens trend. What it means is very simple. We are all used to, buying a painting, okay, like a physical painting. Now, we can have this painting digital, okay? The problem with this painting digital is that if I send it to Alicia, whatever I do, I have it and she has it. It has been copied, right? And with art, you need to have that authentic, original piece of art, right? With blockchain now and non-fungible tokens, to make it simple, you do have that element. So if I send the digital art I did through a non-fungible token to Alicia, she will have it and I will not have it. And on the blockchain, they'll keep track that I send it to her. And if tomorrow she sells it to someone else, I can say, you know what, you need to pay me 10% royalties on every sale. And it's just, just like that, it opens up and it completely changes the art industry. And I think that if we look at new generations, they are used to digital collectibles, they're digital first. Like when I was a kid, I used to collect Pokemon cards, like physical cards. I think kids right now, they won't be used to collect physical cards and just do it completely digital. I also have a busking license here in London. So sometimes I go to play in pubs and clubs here in London. These are my interests, and is like an honest representation of who I am. And myself, I don't have, let's say, personally, a work-life balance, in the sense that they're all interconnected. They're all part of the same thing. And I try to have a very adaptive approach. So I'm very open to, reconsider what I also just said, change my opinion, reassess whatever it is that, I was thinking was right. And whenever I see an opportunity, capture it in any element, because I like to do things that I feel that are meaningful to me. And for me, the entire process of creating a company, you see, you should really try to fight the situation where you're like brainwashed of this like myth of, oh my God, I want to be the next Mark Zuckerberg. You're not going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg, most likely. Because it's a system that always tends to promote the success of people and never talks about when people are not successful. But the 99.999% are very unsuccessful. And I assure you that the process also of starting a company is not that, easy and enjoyable. There are up and downs. So you need to really have, I think, a very a deep and inner representation of what you really want to do overall with your life. And you shouldn't just, follow whatever has been fed you since you were born at school, TVs or whatever, and then just stick with it, right? And anyway, also it's important that everyone is interested. These are like really that everyone is different. So these are my 2 cents on the issue, but I feel that it's very important that everyone really tries to find something that is coherent with who they are. So, because I see that it's really personality led. You need to find something that is a good fit with your personality. Me, I'm a person that, naturally, I'm not stressed at all. I quite go with the flow, the various things that I do. But if you're someone that, prefers some more structured and, wake up and exactly what, needs to be done from now until the next, few months, that's not, you shouldn't do what I'm doing. So yeah, I think this is, I don't know how long I spoke, but I just went with a stream of conscious on, which I thought, was more interesting for you guys to hear, a more honest talk about, how I feel and what I've done, rather than, my few slides that I can show it to you anytime about the trends in the space and stuff. If you have any questions, of course, around blockchain, where do we invest, and all these things, I'm happy to answer them, of course.
Yeah, thank you for the honest suggestions. I mean, this is a truly image of what you do. I mean, more than what a person can expect to hear. Okay, so as you said, the environment is very competitive, but what are the advice that you will give to keep motivation to a student who dreams of entering the world of investment management? I mean, because it's pretty hard when you are young and you are, you just interact with the student world. So how would you?
I think the best way to start is to do it yourself, even with an extremely small amount. It doesn't matter, you shouldn't, of course, invest crazy amounts, but something very small. You don't go out on the weekend for 2 weeks and that money, you then invest them in something that you think is interesting. I feel that in my experience, blockchain is so early that there are so many opportunities where even by, making small bets, the upside is very high. And, you have seen that when, platforms like Ethereum, were created. I think this was an incredible wealth creation experience. People became extremely wealthy, extremely fast. But apart from that, that probably shouldn't even be the goal when you do it. The goal should be to actually learn. I think you need to do it yourself and then gradually approach people and telling them, hey, look, I did that with my own small portfolio. Can I do it with you guys? Because I think, I can help you on X, Y, Z. I think that's the approach that you should follow. I see that sometimes even people that write to me, they write me hi, Andrea, would be great to, if you could have a chat and learn from you. You see what I mean? You shouldn't do that. I think you should be you should go with a proposition. You should yourself provide value to the other person, whoever that person is. And if you do it, and if you have that approach of really being quite pragmatic and practical, because one thing that I felt is, I studied in Italy and in the UK. There are pros and cons of both systems. So the Italian system is a system that prepares you very well from a theoretical standpoint, but it's not very pragmatic. I think the UK system is the other way around. So probably it's good to meet like halfway, if you see what I mean. But one good thing that for sure, like more like UK, I think US system brings is they really focus on solving a problem, like problem solving. So you basically have always the approach of trying it yourself at a small scale. Once it works, you try to increase the scale. Try to always have that approach, like you start small and then step by step you increase.
Okay, thank you a lot. And what about the other? Do you have questions? Go on, feel free to.
They asked me to share again the link. I don't know if anyone can see it. I shared it again, but maybe even after the event, Alicia, feel free to send it to everyone if they're interested.
Sure.
I had a question regarding, well, thank you for the speech, Andrea, and regarding which sectors do you think are going to be like from the COVID perspective, like the more disruptive ones by blockchain?
Okay, so I think COVID in general, if anything, accelerated some of the trends that were already happening in the blockchain space. Like people realized that many things can be done digitally, and I think blockchain projects overall didn't really, get much affected from that. Probably the only way they were affected is that if they were in the middle of a fundraising, they couldn't meet face-to-face with investors. It's something that we also experienced when we, because we are in the process of raising our second fund. And so this, of course, slowed down a bit. In terms of areas, we have identified a few areas that we think, are the most relevant. So one is still on the infrastructure segment. So with blockchain, a few years ago, the main bottleneck of the technology was the infrastructure. So basically ensuring that the building blocks are stable. So then you can start building, a house on top of it, right? It's like you start the internet and, Windows is not working. You can have the best application on Windows, but if Windows doesn't really work well. So we made a few investments there. I think this is still something where there is some room to actually add. Another, let's say, sector that is relevant is, I think, the one of marketplaces, like more broadly. So blockchain is all about eliminating the middleman. So every time that you have like a buyer and a seller, you can take the middleman out of the picture and redistribute the value between the two parties. Then other industry, I think everything around, I'm giving you very broad industries because I think the applications are indeed broad. Everything around like data ownership and traceability, for instance, supply chain, right? If you put that on the blockchain, you're able to track a certain good from A to B. Whenever there is an issue on that good, you can immediately remove it from the basket. It can streamline many processes around supply chain and also others. And then another element is also the so-called adoption and interoperability. So like in a context where you have several blockchains that have different applications built on top, you need to ensure the application built on blockchain X can talk with the one built on blockchain Y. So, they need to be interoperable. This is very important. And in general, I think, let's say, an industry that probably is probably the most affected by the blockchain trend is really the like big data, like anything around data. So we are in a context where, if you think about it, 98% of the data ever created in the history of the universe has been created over the past 2 years. So, the creation of data is exponential, and you cannot think that this data is securely stored on the server of a bunch of centralized companies, because there is a unique point of failure. So it's way better a system where data is distributed, there is no unique point of failure, data can be moved on the blockchain through smart contracts, and we take control of the data. So, we don't go and give our data to Facebook, Amazon, Google for free. And then, of course, we use their platform for free, but they monetize our data. Whereas we take control of the data, and then we decide if we want to monetize them, and we get rewarded from that. And yeah, this is another trend. But in general, blockchain has really quite an horizontal impact on many industries. So, someone more than others, but I think it's gonna change the way we operate as the internet did, right? It's like saying on which industry did the internet impact, which industry did internet did not impact. Like, the world was changed completely after that. And I think we are gonna see the same dynamic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very interesting.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, I think that we are in perfect time, but if someone else have another question, feel free. So, Andrea, can they ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So let's see.
Good morning. I have a question. Just a curiosity, not a question. First of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience and some advices. And I would just like to have a sort of review of what Eterna is doing, because I didn't actually catch what you are doing practically on with blockchain.
So what we do is very simple. We invest. So we are an investor in projects that are using blockchain. So we invest in pretty much startups, mostly at seed stage and Series A. So at the very beginning. And yeah, we then, support the projects also, with our network that we have here in Europe. We co-invest with some of the largest investors in the world from the US and Asia. And we then, support the projects. I made the example of Algorand to basically tell you that, we have invested in that project. We are now running their accelerator in Europe. We've also invited the founder, Silvio Micali, to deliver a couple of guest lectures at Imperial College London and University of Cambridge. And also we connected them with some of our partners, even outside Europe, like mostly corporates interested in using blockchain. But, short answer to your question is we are a venture capital company in the blockchain space. So yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you.
Okay, so I really thank you, Andrea. Thank you a lot for giving us these insights from your word. Thank you a lot, and goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.